Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. This is the privacy and the security editions. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually we're streaming on multiple different platforms. Two of them went crashing and burning today. Odyssey decided to reset the stream keys, and I did not notice it, and they do not seem to have a way for me to get the stream keys ex post facto, causing me to lose the ability to stream on Odyssey for the night. DLive apparently killed itself when I reset the restream server. So, but you can check out the website, and hey, eventually when the dust settles, at least go there, click on one of the links, and you'll find something. But let's go ahead and get into our privacy news. First up, over in Australia, with the land of Aussies, where everything's trying to kill you, Australia renters think third-party applications require too much privacy data. This is for apartments, and I'm really interested in this because it's rolling out in the United States, and there's just a few companies behind this in the United States that are trying to do a renter's credit score. The idea is that the landlord partners with this one company, and then you have a profile with that company, and then they'll basically do all of the back-end background checks and stuff like that. But part of that back-end check is, hey, how have other landlords responded? So the landlord can leave commentary about how you're doing and whatever else based on their service, their settings. And so the problem is that these things, first, a lot of people do not realize they're doing it. But then the second big problem that we have here is that they're collecting a whole lot of data, and they're being a little unscrupulous with it. And so a survey of 1,000 renters over there in Australia looked into all this kind of stuff. And when they did this, they found that 60% of renters were uncomfortable with the amount and type of information they were asked for when applying for rental using rent tech platforms. And so rent tech platforms, of course, are any of these forms of platforms that are collecting data and integrating the data process between a renter and a landlord. So the report released on Tuesday said renters were very concerned about data insecurity and invasive automated decision-making technologies used in the rental application process. Among renters between 18 and 34, only 29% reported that their rental application had been scored against other prospective tenants to determine whether they'd get the property. So you fill out all this information. A landlord has a property come available, and as the property comes available, then what happens is the landlord uses the ed tech software or the rent tech software, puts the compiling in data, and then they take all of the people and they let the software spit out, hey, who's the best tenant based on, when are they paying? Do they give you any problems? Like, I don't want to be on your stupid rent tech platforms and stuff like that. Because I actually had the last place I rented from were the most unscrupulous morons. These people are lucky I'm a Christian and that I don't believe in violence. Okay, we'll put it that way. But I'm telling you, these people were nuts. And they did thing after thing after thing after thing. I actually filed a lawsuit against them. They gave me back just enough money for me to be like, okay, it's not worth my thing. I would have stomped them in court, though. They've already had issues with the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania for the exact same issues with holding things inappropriately and all sorts of issues and problems. And one of the things they tried to do is they tried to force everybody onto one of these things. And I said, I looked into it all. I could not find a terms of service. I could not find a privacy policy. I couldn't find anything. And I said, no, I'm not signing up for your stupid thing. That company is owned by a subsidiary of Wells Fargo. Oh, yeah, Wells Fargo. Oh, that company that was utilizing all their customer data to make fake bank accounts in other people's names so that the managers would get bonuses. Yeah, that company. I really don't want any of my information in them. And so the big question is did they add all my information to one such rent tech company against my authorization? And if so, I might very well want to hire a really big lawyer and sue them for everything they're worth if they did, after I explicitly said no, and it was not part of my lease to require it. So with that being said, these rent tech programs are very, very bad. And it's good to see some information coming out about these guys. All right, the next, crime agencies condemn Facebook and Instagram encryption plans. So Facebook and Instagram want to encrypt all the DMs on the platforms between them. And so the theory is Facebook and Instagram allegedly won't be able to get access to the data. Here's the NCA, the FBI, all these guys are coming going, don't do that, don't do that. Of course, this came, Musk had actually released information this week that prior to his buying Twitter, the FBI and other government agencies had full access to all Twitter DMs. And so we know they're looking at all these DMs. They're monitoring everything. It's completely unconstitutional, completely against United States law. Now, it's not against the law necessarily in UK and all that. They don't have the same constitution we have here. But now they're all going, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. What's their excuse? For the children. For the children. No, do some good old regular police work. Trust me, you'll be able to tell if they got some child back there, of course, based on what's going on down at the southern border. I don't think anyone cares. But with that being said, they're not all concerned about the children. They just don't want to lose access to all the DMs on Facebook and Instagram. And so all sorts of people are going against Facebook and Instagram saying, oh, you can't encrypt all the DMs. We can't encrypt all that. We want all the DMs. That's right. We want it all, folks. We want it all. All right. Moving on. Teachers in Denmark are now using apps to audit their students' moods. This is a startup called Mood, of course. And the idea is that they're not plugging things into the kids per se, but they're forcing them to install the app on computers and on phones. They're forcing them to go into the app and answer a bunch of questions. And then the company's going to get out and be like, hey, the class right now has a 4.4 out of 5 for their mood. That's great news, right? So in Copenhagen suburb, a 5th grade classroom is having weekly cake eating sessions, a common tradition in Danish public schools. Why didn't I go to school in Danish school? Man, cake eating sessions? Lord. While the children are eating chocolate cake, their teacher pulls up an infographic on the whiteboard, a bar chart generated by a digital platform that collects data on how they've been feeling. Organized to display the classroom's weekly mood landscape, the data shows that the class averaged a mood of 4.4 out of 5, and the children rated their family life highly. That's great, the teacher exclaims, raising 2 thumbs up in the air. I don't really think that we need the apps reporting how your family life's been going into there. I mean, if you got a serious family problem, by all means, tell somebody. But at the same token, man, holy crap, this is nonsense. She moves on about sleep hygiene. Great. We do not need the teachers being informed on how the children are sleeping. Creepy pedo comes to mind. But, of course, all this is just basic questions answered. How well are you sleeping? All those types of things. The problem is when you have either a state-run system or even just your classroom in general, this is private stuff. The teachers, none of their business. The teacher needs to teach the subject matter. They do not need to get involved in all this other kind of stuff. We'll leave all the other things out. Now, where's this coming from? If you've ever read the book by Daniel Goleman called Emotional Intelligence, one of the things he mentions in there is, as families begin to fall apart and degrade, if a child's family is falling apart, they don't really care what the answer to 2 + 2 is. Of course, 4 is not the answer any longer. 2 + 2 = 4 is ourest. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. Maybe the band news section. But with that being said, though, the aggression here is to say, let's look at the attitudes and the emotional health of the children. The reality is, while I agree that a child whose family life is falling apart doesn't care what 2 + 2 is, I don't think it's the purview of the school or the teachers to be involved in all this kind of stuff. Their task is to teach us the subject material. And if the kid is not learning it for some reason, isolate the kid to figure out what the problem is and direct that student to whatever it happens to be. But apparently this is a big tradition. There's a few different startups in this world, but they're collecting a lot of data. Of course, there's been a little bit of backlash. I think, let's see. There's been a little bit of backlash. People are saying, we don't really, what are these things doing? How are they collecting their data? These are all good questions. So this one application called Woof, get that dog a bone, is run from a basement office at the outskirts of Copenhagen with a small team of 3 full-time staffers. The founders got the idea for the company after working with public school teachers through Teach First Denmark, an organization similar to Teach for America in the United States. There's an organization to watch out for. The provost and Dankert entered the school system. They say they quickly realized the schools in low-income neighborhoods faced a vicious cycle. Difficult circumstances at home can make a student in these schools more challenging to teach. The problem is doing a bunch of data analytics on them is not actually going to solve the problem. So kind of creepy there, but whatever that's worth. So there is some question about, is it good and appropriate for us to be collecting all this data? The short answer is no. We don't need to be collecting any of this type of data. And if the school wants to collect all this type of data on your students, say no. Your task is not to assess their emotional health. That's my job as the parent. Your task is to teach them math. And hopefully you're teaching them something like 2 + 2, not doing the like the Utah writing assignment, the Utah English assignment that devolved into eating insects. No, thank you. But that's that. And in more dystopian news here in the United States, Georgia National Guard is going to use phone location tracking to recruit high school children. The idea here now, as I was reading through this article, here's a fascinating thing. The No Child Left Behind Act required the school systems to give students contact information to the military. Well, that seems like a very interesting thing in the No Child Left Behind. Of course, our school forced us to take the ASVAB test, which is, they're not supposed to force us to take it, but they did. And I had fun with that one. I intentionally failed that one really bad. So as far as the military and the government is concerned, I'm dumb as a rock. It's hilarious because they gave us this test and it was like, what color is the sky? Orange. Where you might find a bat? Not a tree, I mean, it was like I answered every question on the ASVAB test with the most ridiculous and wrong answer you could possibly have given it. It's hilarious, except for the math, which I completely aced. Some of us think I'm like an idiot savant or something. But this is kind of moves a little bit beyond that, and that the National Guard, what they're doing is they're first using geofencing. So the geofencing, they're figuring out who are the students in there based on the geofencing and the phones. And then they're taking these informations and then they're figuring out where the kids live and then tying this to their parents' phones. And then they're using the various retargeting systems to constantly follow them around the internet with constant precisions about ads for joining the National Guard and the military services and things like this. And so they're basically utilizing the data, starting with your phones, to stalk your children and to give them the most crazy targeted ads ever. Of course, this at a time when they're like, COPA, we can't be targeting the kids, except we want to target the kids all we want. So it's a bunch of crazy nonsense. Part of it is also to get plans out to talk to coaches and teachers and counselors, basically bombard them also with recruitment ads. Basically, it's do everything you can to convince all these students to join into the military. So kind of out there, but I certainly disagree that with these guys, they shouldn't be doing this stuff, but whatever that happens to be worth. Well, we use affiliates around here to help pay the bills. Today we are highlighting NordVPN. I've not promoted a VPN for a while. Of course, I am not of the opinion that everyone needs one. Clearly, using the VPN is not the end all. Of course, I always like joking about the Daily Wire guys, with Matt Walsh and with Ben Shapiro. I use this because it's going to protect your IP. And if you don't follow it, Matt Walsh was completely hacked. They got his emails, they got everything, and he allegedly uses ExpressVPN. Didn't work. Because once you sign in, you automatically de-anonymize yourself. VPNs are not the end-all for privacy. They are a good tool. I use VPN specifically for the security portion. It does a really good job of securely encrypting your information, and NordVPN is one of the ones that did not get out there and log all of your data. They have been tried in court. I believe Nord was one of the ones tried in court. So with our affiliate code there, tlm.li/Nord, you can get 3 months with 63% off. With the 2-year plan, 2 years plus 3 months, 63% off. Of course, using their dark patterns here, they're saying you have 8 hours left. Trust me, in 8 hours, it's just gonna reset that timer. So just use the affiliate link there. You'll get a good deal either time. TLM.li/Nord. Good VPNs, very good if you're frequenting coffee shops. If you do not trust your ISP and you trust the VPN company more, if you need to bust out of a geolocation, all these are great reasons to use a VPN. Nord is one of the affiliates that we have. And we have other affiliates at switchedtolinux.com/support/affiliates. I think affiliates gets you there too. I did add a little bit of that. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump on over to security news. First up on security news, of course, the IRS stuff is mostly gone through, but in the event you have extensions or stuff like that, there is a new IRS tax email. Basically, they're saying that we're emailing you because we're about to seize a bunch of your assets. So click over here to prevent this from happening and let us know you're working. It gives you a little pop-up Microsoft account, and this is a phishing account. It's a bunch of scammers trying to do that. Public service announcement: IRS is never going to email you. They're never going to call you. They're either going to possibly show up at your house, or more likely than not, they're just going to send you something in your postal mail using snail mail. So anytime you get an email that says it's the IRS and you need to log in here to not have your stuff seized, it's a scam. It would be good, forward them on to the abuse lines, wherever those came from. Maybe the IRS wants to know about these. I don't know. Just delete them. Just do not log into a Microsoft account, particularly if the URL up here looks something like this. All right. So moving on. Capita. So this is I believe this one is the company for UK. They are a crucial services for the NHS and the military over in the UK. Yeah, they were hacked and a lot of information was stolen. And they said the intervention was significantly restricted, only 4% of its IT systems. They admitted the data was breached during the incident, and it raises the possibility that public sector information was accessed by hackers. Capita, which employs more than 50,000 people in Britain, is some of the government's most important suppliers, holds £6.5 billion worth of public sector contracts. So basically, the health records and military records could have been compromised in this breach over in the UK. This is just another one of those wonderful stories that says we don't need to put everything out there in the world on the internet. And another one, so this is another bank. This is a bank in India, $76 billion valuation, 5,000 branches across India and 15 other countries worldwide. What's the name of this? Is this the Icky Bank? I mean, Icky, why not? ICICI Bank leaked millions of records of sensitive data, financial information, personal documents, bank clients. It got passports, driver's license information, all sorts of critical information. They said down here, leaked data was bank account details, bank statements, credit card numbers, full names, dates of birth, home addresses, phone numbers, emails, personal identification documents, employers and candidates' CVs. And so basically, you applied for a job there, but you didn't get it. They might have it. I actually had a case like this where I applied for a job like 20 years ago. 10 years ago, they sent me a statement. Our systems were breached and we think they stole your information. You didn't hire me. Why the hell were you holding my information for 10 years? This is why we need good, solid laws that really limit, not informed consent like we talked about last night. Good, solid laws that sit down and say, hey, you, stop collecting unnecessary data and stop holding data you no longer need. If you're not going to hire the person, delete their stuff. And you can do this really amazing thing. Get it off of the live network systems and put it in a cold storage somewhere. If you need the data, you can go find it in a vault with a USB drive and plug it in somewhere. That's kind of the stuff that we gotta work with. And on to our last one, a new carjacking tool. Car thieves are using tech disguised inside old Nokia phones and Bluetooth speakers. So it's just an old Nokia phone, and it's not really an active phone. It's just the shell of a phone, but inside of it is some very powerful carjacking tools that they say that they can actually bust into nearly any Toyota and Lexus, is what this currently works with. So you just have to take the device, plug it in. I think actually one of the places you can plug it in is you can actually take one of the headlights out, plug it into the wires of the headlight, and you can hijack the car from there. Otherwise, if you're inside the car, you can attach it to some of the wiring inside. JBL unlock and start. One ad for the device hidden inside a JBL branded Bluetooth speaker states no key needed. Ad states the specific device works on a variety of Toyota and Lexus cars. Our device is cool, stealthy style, and look. It does all the work for them. The CTO at Vehicle Cybersecurity Forum, Canis Labs, told Motherboard in an email, all they have to do is take two wires from the device, detach the headlight, stuff the wires into the right holes in the vehicle side of the connector. When it comes to the vehicle owners protecting themselves from this sort of threat, there's nothing simple that consumers can do. So if you see people running around with these little Nokia phones or Bluetooth speakers, they very well might be carjacking tools. Definitely an interesting little tool. So keep an eye out for that kind of stuff, and keep your cars safe, I guess. I don't know. Maybe electrically protect your headlights or something. Who knows? Well, anyway, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/TOMM. You can join us on over there, and you can help support the program, keep us running, keep us moving, and we do appreciate your support. With that, thank you for watching, and we will see you all next time. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.